first and foremost, anything else, Kathy? Are we good?
I think we're good.
All right, then please allow me to introduce our first facilitator. He's going to bring us my leadership in Rotary, and that's Bruce Bortner.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Renee, and want to welcome everybody again. So we're going to be at, so how much time do I have? Do I have to stop at 45 now?
You have, yes, till 8:45.
Okay. Tell you what, Bruce, let's give you an extra 5 minutes, okay? And we'll kind of bump things and get that worked out eventually, okay?
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, well, I want to welcome everybody again. Okay, we're in lesson number 1, My Leadership in Rotary. Jeff Weinrack, my good friend, and he'll be taking care of, he's going to be our scribe. We don't have obviously we don't have a flip chart to record our discussions and everything, but Jeff's going to handle that for me. Jeff, if you could bring up My Leadership Rotary and Rotary page, we'll go through the session goals real quick. And here we are. So if you look at the My Leadership in Rotary, starts out with a little definition there as a Rotarian, I am by definition a leader. And a little bit later on, I'm going to tell you an interesting thing that happened to us recently regarding someone who said, I don't want to be a leader, but she was anyway. Our session goals then, we're going to explore the characteristics of leadership. My background in leadership, I spent 30 years in the U.S. Air Force, so I got, I think, some practice in leadership, both being a leader and then working with leaders. Discuss what motivates people in a volunteer or civic organization. There is a difference, obviously, from, let's say, being a paid person at work. And we're going to talk about leadership styles, and you'll give a chance to examine your own leadership style. So with that, we're going to start with the very first question. But the first question talks about what's the difference between leadership in business and leadership in Rotary. But, you know, there's something missing here. And that is, I think it might be a good idea to start out with what's the definition of leadership? Please raise your hand. And Jeff, if you can help me on this too, I'm going to bring my participant thing here. Raise your hand if you've got a definition or what you think leadership is that you'd like to share. What is leadership?
So as a note, when we're sharing a document and you're not seeing everyone, you can scroll and see all the people that are on the call.
Yeah. Dum, 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 dum. Anybody want to share what they think leadership is? Raise your hand.
This is when I get to call on someone, right?
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go with Mr. Pat Devine, just because I know him and I could pick on him.
Okay,
Only
Pat,
for a long time. I think a leadership is somewhere that you can get people focused on an objective and give them steps that they need to take it, and be with them as they do that, and evaluate each time you kind of meet and see what kind of progress you're having, but make it a group thing, not just you're the leader. It's a group thing.
Okay, very good. But anyone else like to share what they think? What's the definition of leadership?
Bruce, Catherine Buck has her hand raised.
Okay, Catherine?
Well, I completely agree with the previous speaker. It's finding that goal, what you want the team to do. And I think it's a huge part of the leader's job to get buy-in, to get everybody agreed that goal, and then figuring out how to get there. But I think a huge part of leadership is basically getting people to follow and to agree and want to achieve the goal.
Okay, I think we can condense that down to getting people to follow. All right. So I like both of those. And I've got one, I'll ask that one more time. Anybody else want to share what they think leadership is? What is leadership? What's the definition?
Bruce, George had his hand raised also.
Okay, George?
And it went away.
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I would say just getting everyone to work towards a common goal.
Very good, George. Thanks very much. I like that. Let's keep it simple if we can. The definition that I've heard a lot of definitions over the years, but one that I liked was very simple: getting things done through people. And that's very much what George was saying. So now that we have a definition, sort of, getting things done through people, or just working with people. Let's take a look at the first question. What is the difference between leadership in business and leadership in Rotary? Again, raise your hand if you would like to tackle that one. What's the difference? George, you're laughing over there. Want to talk again?
Well, I would just say because Rotary does not pay you.
True.
It does not pay you in money.
Right. What does it pay us in?
Fellowship.
Fellowship and satisfaction of doing it, of helping the community, providing service in the community. A lot of satisfaction in Rotary. Anybody else? What's the difference? I like that. We don't get paid, obviously. What are any other differences between leadership and business and Rotary, and between business and leadership and Rotary?
This is Don Reed.
Go ahead.
I put my hand up, and did I do it right?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't see it, but Jeff looks. But we've got so many people. Go ahead. Go ahead, Don.
Okay. Well, having run a business, my belief is that you have a different reaction from the people that you're working with. The people in business are there, obviously, to make a living. People in Rotary are there because they truly want to be part of something.
Right. They want to be there. They want to get involved. They want to make a difference. Right. Yeah. Completely different motivation. Very good.
Bruce, if I would just ask them to just answer the question, because as you said, we can't see everyone easily. So I think raising hands, we may lose some people. I would just ask them to open their mics and just answer the question.
All right. Well, the mic should be open already, right? Or did we ask them to keep their stay muted?
No, we want them to have open mics.
Okay, very good. All right, let's move on then. So, so we got a definition of Rotary. We talked about the difference between business and leadership in Rotary. What do you think are some characteristics of good leaders? Here's something that I'm going to ask Jeff to act as scribe and to note this, because we may return to it. What do you think? Anybody?
They listen to differing views.
Yeah. Okay, say that one again.
They listen to differing views.
Listening to different views. Okay. Any other characteristics?
Build consensus.
Building consensus. Why is that important?
Well, especially with a volunteer organization, if you don't have consensus, then you're not going to get any movement.
And what do we use consensus for? Bob?
Consensus around the services that you want to provide, those projects you want to do.
In other words, consensus helps us make decisions, doesn't it?
Yes.
How we make decisions. It's not like, okay, the most people, okay, 15 people, 30 people want to do this, 10 don't. Well, we're going to go ahead and do it. That may or may not work. Consensus, on the other hand, is everybody says what? Yeah, I can live with that. All right. Thank you, Bob. Anybody else? Any other characteristics of good leaders?
Good communicators.
Okay, go ahead.
This is Tom. I think that a good leader very rarely uses visible direct authority. They lead by getting people, facilitating the group and doing their goals, reaching their goals.
Thank you, Tom.
Bruce, if I may. This is Arturo. Somebody shared with me, and I'm sorry, I was working on the social media stuff, but I'm done, focus 100% now. But one of the things that I've heard when I first became in Rotary is that in Rotary, you're leading leaders, which is a challenge.
Uh-huh.
Not only volunteers, but leading leaders. So that's where it gets interesting.
I think another thing is that key is a leader has to get everybody engaged, active, and participating.
Okay.
Don't be afraid to delegate. Everybody has a part to play.
Don't be afraid to delegate. Okay. Everybody has a part to play. Who was that? Who said that?
Pat.
Okay.
That's me, Patrick.
Oh, hi, Patrick. Because I can't see everybody when I'm looking at when we've got the, okay, here we go. Anybody else? Characteristic of a good leader.
Set a good example.
Thank you, George. Getting a good list here.
I think you have to bring energy. You have to be the motivator for the team. So you have to bring some energy to the team.
Okay, very good. Anybody else? Characteristics of good leadership. These are good. All right, let's move on then. What would I hear? One more person, Peg?
A good communicator.
Ah, well, we got that up there, number 3.
Oh, okay.
But do you have anything else?
Urban leaders.
Bruce?
Yes?
I would add bringing vision.
Bringing vision. Thank you, Governor. See how well I can recognize people's voices because I can't see you all.
That was impressive.
Yeah. You should be able to scroll through the list of people, Bruce, if you need to.
Yeah. When I do that.
Like the down arrow, up arrow.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Bruce?
But it's right in the middle of the screen, so I can't see what you're writing always. Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Bruce, one more thing that I would add is, especially this year and next year, we're going to have a building vision, because I'm convinced that we're going to start off when we start meeting again with a smaller number of Rotarians in our clubs. Some of the business people are going to be challenged with their business and not able to focus on the club.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it should be very interesting to see what happens once this is all.
And building on that, we have to be resilient.
Resilient.
Good.
Yep. Like that, that's a good word.
And creative thinkers, because we're going to have to reinvent a lot of our programs because of what's happening.
Exactly.
Yeah. Which kind of means we need to be what? Flexible, huh?
Flexible.
Okay. Last call. Any other characteristics of good leadership? These are all good. Thank you very much, everyone. Anyone else? Okay. So we'll move on to our next part. And thank you, Jeff, for doing that for us. So leadership styles may differ in culture and generation. I'm going to ask you in a minute what leadership style you think best suits you or represents you. But first, we need to talk about the different leadership styles. This is the bottom, probably the bottom of the page there in our lesson 1. And there's 5 different styles that are represented. This is, by the way, this is not all the leadership styles. I used to teach leadership in the Air Force. And there are more styles in this, but this is good. This will be good for getting a discussion going. So let me go through this real quickly, and then we'll see just what kind of styles we have in our audience today. The first one is called participative. Participative leaders seek to involve other people. Now, participative, the opposite of participative is autocratic. Anybody ever have an autocratic leader? They want to do everything themselves and really didn't want to delegate? Ah, was that Bob? What is that?
Well, it wasn't fun, I have to tell you.
How did it go? How did you know that that was going to be the way they were going to lead?
Well, this gentleman was unfortunately a graduate of the West Point, and he led very autocratically and very top hierarchically, more so than I've had the pleasure of working with since then.
Yeah. Anybody else ever have to work for an autocratic leader?
Well, I think as parents, I think as parents we have to be autocratic leaders at times.
Okay, that's true. Yeah, let's transfer that to now to Rotary. What if you were at a Rotary club that had an autocratic leader? What would that be like? I know Bob has experienced that. I've had other people experience that too. It's when the leader comes in and says, "Hey, we don't really need committees or anything like that. I can take care of everything."
Yeah.
I think I'd find another Rotary club.
You end up with a small Rotary club.
Yeah, you may end up with a very small Rotary club. Because why? People want to be involved. They want to have a say. The participative leader, on the other hand, does what? Anybody.
Involves everybody.
Yeah, everybody gets involved. Everybody has a say. And in fact, the more that people get involved, the better the leadership process, because now you have, one of my favorite terms is buy-in.
Buy-in.
Okay. People that are part of the solution are there will make sure that that happens. Okay. So participative leadership is so much more, I think, valuable than the autocratic style or anything in between. One of the other styles that fits in between autocratic and participative, I can't remember what the name of it is, but you have a leader who wants your inputs but doesn't do anything with them. Everybody, you ever run into that before? Yeah, it sounds like, hey, this sounds good. He wants to know what we're going to do, but then he does it his way or she does it her way. That's a different style as well. But anyway, you get the idea. Participative really is an excellent style. That's a leader who gets people involved and wants to get their input. And then the buy-in is the reward for that. The next one is called situational. Situational leadership is that the leader needs to be very observant about the progress that people in the club are making, and especially with new people. And they change their leadership style depending on the situation. In other words, by the way, situational leadership was invented by a gentleman by the name of Paul Hersey. I had the chance to meet him when I was teaching for the U.S. Air Force before he sold his business to Ken Blanchard. So now it's Blanchard and Hersey. But situational leadership says, hey, leaders need to change their style depending on who they're leading and how much experience that person has, the person that they're leading. For example, you may have brand new people coming in the club, and at that time, your leadership style might be very directive, telling them what to do. As they become more familiar with whatever the job is that they have in the club, then you become a coach. So not so much direction, but a little bit more direction, but also, hey, you're doing a good job. Keep on, doing good, supporting. Then you move into a different area, which is supporting. And finally, you delegate everything. Someone who's been around for a long time, you can trust them. You let them go and you give them moral support if they need it, but essentially they're on their own. So that's situational leadership. Your leadership style changes according to the situation. Transactional is the next one. And it's working through hierarchical structures, like Bob mentioned that, and systems of reward. In other words, hey, do good and I'll reward you. Okay, now you'll get a reward for that. And of course, in Rotary, that may not be money, maybe other ways to do rewards. Then you have transformational. This is a leader that leads through inspiration, sharing energy, enthusiasm, and so forth. And finally, we have one, and this is an interesting one. It's servant. A servant leader serves others rather than being served. And so my story here is that not too long ago, we had a facilitator refresher course that our facilitators had the opportunity to meet with other facilitators from another district, District 5450, I think, just up there in just above us in Colorado. And the idea was, hey, let's get back. This was Renee's idea, Renee Canton's idea. Let's do a little bit of refresher training before we get back into this today. And one of the members from 5450 complained about the fact that Rotary Leadership Institute included the word leader. She didn't want to be a leader. She said that. She says, I don't want to be a leader. I just want to do good in the community. What she didn't realize was that she was a leader. And it says right up here, you know, leaders, you know, when by definition, Rotarians are leaders. It doesn't mean you have to be what?
Authoritarian.
Authoritarian. And you don't have to be your club president. You don't even have to be a chair of a service committee or any kind of committee. You just need to be there and doing what you do to help the community. And so a servant serves others. They don't necessarily stand out as a leader in terms, you know, by definition or by title, but they're there getting things done, and they'll go out and they'll do great things for your club. So now that we see these different definitions, I'd like to know what, let's go around the room. Would anyone like to share what style do you think best fits you?
I'll go ahead.
Okay,
this is Eric from Clovis.
Hi, Eric, go ahead.
So I have a background in education. I taught for 5 years high school math. And to me, situational leadership is natural to me because of how a classroom works. You have to adjust constantly to who's in your classroom, what you're doing, what you're needing. And I think that fits me personally the best.
Okay, very good. I also consider myself I think you can be more than one style, by the way. But I also consider myself as, when I was a commander in the Air Force, I was a squadron commander and a group commander. That was the style that I used. Of course, also the style I taught when I was teaching at Air University for 3 or 4 years. So I can understand that. Anyone else?
Yes,
anyone else want to share?
Don Reed.
Go ahead, Don.
And I'm the participative.
Participative. Yeah, different.
Participative. Yeah, that one. That's so easy to say. And I know that because I used to have a staff meeting every Tuesday morning at 7:30 and had all the different disciplines together. And I got them to come forth and tell me what they were going to do. So.
Okay.
So
you were looking for input, and that helped you with your decision making.
Yes.
Very good. Okay.
I would comment that in different situations, it's both. Like as a Rotary president, I would say I was more participative. I tried to just get everybody engaged. But when I was running a training program out at the University of Phoenix, in a way, I was kind of servant leader more than anything. I did all the things to make sure all the faculty had what they needed and were prepared so that they could then go out and do a good job. I didn't try to direct them too much, but I wanted to make sure they were supplied.
Okay. Very good. Thanks, Jesse. Anybody else? What leadership style do you think best fits you? And remember, you can use more than one style, and many people, most of us do, depending on the situation.
Bruce?
Yes, go ahead, Jeff.
So I've always felt like I was a servant leader, and I had a chance to visit a city in Florida that was a recipient of a national performance award through the Baldrige program. And their mayor and city manager in their org chart was at the bottom of the chart. And they reflected that in how they functioned. It wasn't just on paper. They literally were at the bottom of the chart to reinforce that their job was to serve and support the committees, the citizens, all of that. So I kind of use them as my mentors in terms of how are you at the bottom of a chart and a leader at the same time? It's not easy. But they were fantastic at that.
Yeah, I like that idea of the bottom of the chart. You know, Rotary International does that. They put the club at the top of the pyramid and they put Rotary International at the bottom. And I don't want to tread on Tom Walker's lesson coming up, but I think that's one of the things you'll see there is that's the way that Rotary looks at things. You know, they're there to support the clubs. Anyone else? Share your leadership style.
Bruce, if I may.
Yes.
So it's Arturo. I think I'm a hybrid leader.
Hybrid. Let me write that down. Explain.
Well, I think it's a combination of all. And I think that's what we all do. You know, in some situations, you have to be servant. You have to follow up the lead of the people that you're giving the responsibility of what they're doing. And even though you might be the president or whatever, you know, you're a bee worker. You have to be there on the helping, you know, everybody. Transformational, you know, sometimes we have to share our energy. We talked about motivation earlier. And when you're leading the team, you have to be out there and be, you know, enthusiastic and get everybody, because if you're not doing it, the rest is not going to do it. Yeah. And then I also like to have everybody involved as much as possible, and situational, you know, change. So I think it's a hybrid of some of the components of all of them.
Okay. And I agree with that. I think your leadership style depends on the situation, doesn't it? And not necessarily the situational leadership that we talked about earlier, but as things change in your club. And certainly the coronavirus and how clubs reacted to that had to be one of the biggest challenges that our club presidents have had to deal with. You know, what are we going to do? How are we going to meet? When are we going to meet? When is it going to be time for us to get back? By the way, I'd be curious to know how many of you have already, or at least before the latest change that the governor made in meetings, how many of you were able to get back and actually do actual meetings, or has it all been virtual?
Virtual.
Virtual.
We've had 2 meetings in Clovis in person.
Okay, so did we. So did Del Sol. 2 meetings, and then they closed us back down again. And that's because we met where? At a restaurant. One of the few places we could, you know, we could gather. Okay. So most everybody's still virtual, but those are the kind of decisions. Sometimes the decision has to be made regardless of what the, you know, I think, I don't know, Jeff, what you think, or Doreen, but in Del Sol, would you say that most people wanted to get back as soon as possible and into a live meeting?
I wouldn't say most, some did.
Some did, that's right. So we ended up with what, about a split, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, anybody else?
The Deming Club split their meeting after we could meet in person by continuing the virtual meeting option for those that weren't comfortable to go to a meeting, and right. It's worked out pretty good.
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, that's exactly what Del Sol did. We had computers set up in the restaurant. About half the club was there. The rest of us were online.
Yeah,
and I think
the situation was we weren't able to meet because we were meeting at the hospital here in Alamogordo.
Ah.
And that shut down like right now. So we tried some Zoom. It wasn't really heavily attended. So right now we're really not meeting at all.
Understand.
Our club is going to remain with the hybrid system. We're going to be in person once we can go back in person, and also we're going to leave the Zoom because we have some club members that rather do Zoom, and I think is going to be helpful to increase participation.
Right. We also have a few members like that as well who would prefer to do Zoom, and it's not simply because they would prefer that personally. It's just because they can't make it to the meeting, you know, for whatever reason. Okay, good. So anyway, there are a number of different leadership styles. I think it's safe to say that most leaders shift back and forth depending on what the situation is. But certain styles have definitely have advantages. I think the participative thing, if you have to make a decision, I think the participative leadership style is the way to go. Get everybody involved, get buy-in, and everything seems to work out better. Let's move on to number 4. Question is, are good leaders born or can they be taught? Can leadership be taught? What do you think?
If I may have the mic.
Yes, Luisa.
I'm sorry. So I would say it's a little bit of both. I would say that people do born with like those characteristics. However, I don't think it is a bigger leader, the one that actually wants to be one, the one that wants to inspire people and the ones to learn how to be one, rather than the one that has like the capabilities, because a person can have like all of those things and probably not use it for the best way. So I would say it'll be both, but definitely can be taught.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Anybody else with a thought? Are good leaders born, or can that leadership be taught to them?
This is Don Reed, and I believe that there are those that are lucky enough to be born with certain talents that make them good leaders. But I also think that most anyone can be taught with the right guidance and the program that like this that helps out. So it's both.
Okay, very good. Hey, Jeff, can we do a poll? Can we do like a poll question here and just get by the raise of hand? Just raise your hand if you think leadership can be taught.
Let me stop sharing so you can see everyone.
Okay. Raise your hand if you believe that leadership can be taught. Oh, I didn't mean physically. I meant on the computer.
Okay.
There we go.
It goes away though.
Yeah, it's under reactions there.
Yeah, it goes
No,
away.
I'm sorry, that's not reactions. Wave your hand. Where's the wave your hand?
Yeah, it's under reactions. It's the the left hand one.
Yeah. Okay. Everybody's raising their hand.
Yeah, it seems to be pretty close to unanimous.
Oh, good. That's funny. I'm not seeing it. Does it show up on the participants list or someplace else?
No, look at our pictures. In our pictures, you see the hand next to.
Oh, okay. Yeah, see, I can't see everybody.
But it disappears after a minute. So.
All right, good. All right. So what do you think Rotary International says? Well, Rotary International and the Rotary Leadership Institute, they believe that while there are certain innate qualities a person brings to leadership, but that leadership can be taught in the sense that a person can improve his or her leadership skills. People do differ on this question, and all views have merit, is what they say. Good. Yeah, so I think so too. I think leadership can be taught. However, I also think that it's easier to teach someone who is motivated to be a leader. Some people are not. Like the young lady that from 5450 who was very adamant that we should change the name from Rotary Leadership Institute to Rotary Management. Or Renee, do you remember what she said? It wasn't leadership, but she had another new. She didn't.
No, I sure don't.
Yeah, she didn't want to. She says, I think we should change the name because I don't want to be a leader, but she didn't realize.
It was Rotary Learning Institute or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting. So, okay, moving on. Leadership is all about getting things done through people, okay? And we want them to excel. What motivates someone to excel in your Rotary Club? What do you think?
When we've talked about it, it's because people want to contribute in their community.
So it's an opportunity to give back to the community, do something in the community. That's where most people, I think, join. Hopefully, very good. Anyone else?
This is Don.
There you go, Jen.
My thought would be that there is rewards given in the club for accomplishing the goal. And when others in the club see that occur, I think they're more motivated to get out and do things and get that motivation and appreciation as well.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? Again, the question is, what motivates someone to excel in your Rotary Club? And I think we've hit on the big one, but there might be other reasons.
I think making a difference. Like you feel like when you've done something you've accomplished or you've made a difference in someone's life, you know, I think that's huge, that you feel like you've made a difference, you've contributed.
Yeah, and especially for new members. Again, why do people join Rotary? Well, mostly it's to serve. It's to do something and to give back to the community. And it's not until they get a chance to actually do something that they really feel like they're part of the club, which is one of the things that we work on real hard in our club with our new members, is to get them involved in a project, in one of our service projects perhaps, as soon as possible, because that's what motivates them to be there. That's what motivates them to stay. I don't know if, going into my old membership days, we lose half of all of our new members within the first 3 years. That's why we aren't growing. And one of the reasons that we do that is the people that we bring in, they never understood what Rotary was. They were never given the opportunity to go out and do something and to make a difference. Okay, we got 5 minutes to go.
And to have fun while they're doing it.
And have fun. That's right. That's number 5, right? In the list. Okay. Let's see here. This last one's kind of interesting. We're not going to break you into groups here, but I just want you to think about presidents of your club. Think about, for those of you, and I don't know how long each of you have been in Rotary. I think we have a pretty good distribution of people that have been in their clubs for a while, and some new members. But from what you've seen, as far as the leadership of your clubs, particularly the president, who do you think was the best leader and why? Don't tell us the name, but just tell us, just identify this person and, what did this person do? What did this club president do that made a significant difference between your thinking of people who are strong or weak in terms of leadership?
They cared.
Yeah. Oh, they care. Okay. Thanks, Arturo. They cared. And they showed that caring. How'd they show that caring, Arturo?
Well, reaching out. Sometimes you're going through a difficult situation and you stop going to meetings because X, Y, and Z. And they call you and say, hey, how you doing? Or is everything okay? And then you can share, what this is happening. And they also make sure that everybody is participating and that everybody is involved.
Okay, very good. Anybody else want to share? What is it? Tell us about a leader you thought was very good. What was it that they did that made them stand out?
Hey, this is Matthew Nyland. One of our past presidents asked me to be chair of the programs committee, and he laid out his vision for what he wanted, how he wanted to do it different for our club that year. Laid out his vision, and then got my input and got me on board with that vision. So.
Very good. Thank you very much. Okay, anyone else want to share?
I find the leaders that get rid of the word I have better success. Even if they actually did something, I found the best leaders around me always give me credit.
Very good, Tom. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. There's no I then in leadership, right? There's me. Yeah, it's us. It's we. All right. Anybody else? One more. And I think then I will turn it over to our next presenter.
I would like to share. So we haven't had a lot of presidents in Rotary. There have been a few, but one of them, the one that impacted me the most, is that I'm gonna say she brought the club together.
Okay. How did she do that? What example?
Yeah, as well as something similar that Arturo was saying, like she cared, she reached out to people, and she had this way of delegating that made us come together and work together for the same goal. So it was a good year. It was the year that I got most involved in the club. So I really respect that from her.
Very good. Thank you, Louisa. Okay, my time is just about up. Let me summarize real quick. Good leadership requires thought, planning, preparation, a willingness to try something new, not being bound by the past. Ooh, that's a tough one. Yeah, bound by the past. I'm sure that all of you have had leaders to say, well, this worked pretty well last year. Let's do it again. We won't make any changes. Or maybe it didn't work so well. Well, we're going to keep on trying. But at any rate, it's also good leadership talks about having the confidence to take risks to get things done. So with that, it's been my pleasure to start us off today. And I'm going to hand off the reins to Tom Walker, who's going to talk to you about his Rotary World.
So the Rotary applause, or the Zoom applause. You know.
Hey, thank you, Bruce.
You're most welcome.
Jeff, if you want to put up what is page 6, I think it is. And Jeff, I sent you a PowerPoint that I was going to use. I can share my screen at the appropriate time if that's okay. Or
Did you send it today?
Yeah, this morning.
Oh, yeah. Do you want to go ahead and share then? Because I didn't download it.
Yeah, that's fine. Good morning. No, go ahead and put that up. We'll. It's not time for that yet. Good morning. I'm Tom Walker, and we're going to talk about my Rotary World. And a lot of people think that Rotary is kind of arcane. I was in the Pentagon. I worked with a Navy captain who was in charge of the #2 R&D program in the Navy, which happened to be non-white. And this guy was a PhD SEAL. Now, I never figured out PhD and SEAL, but his favorite word was arcane. So Rotary is often, our members get confused about part of it. We know our club, but people keep talking about this district thing, and then there's these other things out there, and then there's this crazy Rotary Foundation, which somebody else is going to talk about. So what we're going to try to do today is remember, I am part of a worldwide organization of like-minded people. And the like-minded people means that we're, regardless of all our peculiarities and so forth, we do think the same, and we have some common goals. So today we're going to discuss the purpose of Rotary, try to understand the organizational structure, and you'll learn some stuff that at first glance may not seem to be of terrible use to you, but might down the road. And describe how the structure of Rotary does help you as an individual Rotarian. So the very first question they want us to talk about is, why did you join a Rotary Club? And this kind of builds on what Bruce was talking about. And so why did you join Rotary? Or why did you join the Rotary Club of?
One of my reasons was for networking. I needed to do it for my job at the time.
Networking. Okay.
No, Karen here. Sorry. I just enjoy it because I like to help people and networking.
Networking and service or helping people. Yeah.
Hi. I would add to that. Yes, like networking, especially for us as students, I think we really like that. Also, I saw that Rotary was international, so it really attracted me that I could get international experiences. I was part of the exchange program of Rotary, and also like the community service helping.
Well, that's great. Rotary is international, hence the name Rotary International, and it allows you to do things that you probably couldn't do in your local community. By the way, I joined because my mom said I needed a good meal once a week. And the Albuquerque Country Club had great green chicken chili stew. Now, obviously, I stayed around for more than that, but we all start somewhere.
Tom, can I jump in just for a second?
Certainly.
I want to share with everyone the reason I joined Rotary was that someone told me Harry Truman once said, put a Rotary Club in every town and I will underwrite world peace. So I joined Rotary for the breadth and the leverage and the power to make a difference.
Any other reasons to join Rotary?
Governor Tom, this is Kathy. I wanted to be a part of something that kind of the synergies, like, okay, I could accomplish something on my own, but when I work with a group of like-minded people, whether it's in my community or a district or even internationally, what a huge impact we can make when we all put our resources together, such as working to eliminate polio.
Well, and a common cause. By the way, just in case you haven't noticed, there's the COVID-19 out there, and that is really hurting some of our communities. And I know in the El Paso, Las Cruces area, they're splitting Navajos. A couple people in the Albuquerque area got a bee in their bonnet, and we have been doing all kinds of stuff to support the Navajos and the other tribes. As a matter of fact, we just got approved for a disaster response grant at $25,000.
Wow.
So now that you joined the Rotary Club of, as you think about it, what benefits have you gained from joining your Rotary Club?
Andy makes a major contribution to our community.
Okay.
This is Don. I've been able to meet like-minded people who have an interest in doing what they can in the community, and associating with those kind of people are motivational.
Yep.
Tom, this is Arturo. Oh, sorry, Catherine. Do you want to go first?
Go ahead.
Ladies first, please.
Okay. I just learned so much more about my community with our speakers, and then found places that I could give back that I had no idea. I was like, so that was, I joined for networking because I was taking over someone's business, and found out that it was, there was so much more that was fabulous.
Arturo?
Yeah, Tom, I think, you know, I joined, I saw the small club that was having a huge impact on the community. And I think throughout the years I've been, 4 years now, 5 years, I've become very, I think, more humble. Because when we think that we're contributing to the community, we're learning so much from them, and we're learned to value. And I think that's what has given me, to be able to think of creative ways of helping people, but at the same time, it's something that has been really enriching for me personally to be able to learn and to contribute.
By the way, what is the name of what we're doing today? Rotary?
Leadership Institute.
Are any of you have you learned or are you learning to be leaders? As I recall, when we went through the roster, there were a bunch of presidents-elect. And then there's old guys like Tom the Elder and me that have kind of been through the mill. But it provides opportunities where you might not otherwise get one to be leaders within your club at a level that you're comfortable with, and you can progress through it. Rotary spends a whole lot of money, both at the district level and at zone and international, training Rotarians to be leaders. That's certainly something that you can do. Again, the contacts you make through Rotary, Rotary's reputation for service gives us a lot of entree and so forth. So I think if you think on that, there's lots of things besides the rubber chicken when we get back to rubber chickens that you have received from your Rotary Club. Now here's one that the membership folks will just love us to talk about. Has anybody ever asked you what Rotary is all about and what did you tell them? This is kind of the what we call the elevator speech. So if I come up to Patrick and say, Patrick, I see you got that funny looking thing on your collar there. Is that Civitan? What would you say? Besides hell no.
Well, I do have my Rotary shirt on, so I try and wear my Rotary shirts even though we're not meeting. And if someone were to ask me, I'd say it's a great way to give back to your community and meet some of the great leaders and get very involved in your community.
Okay. Anybody else?
Tom?
Yes.
I think I try to use some merging of service above self and serving your community. As you know, sometimes we know enough that it takes us forever to tell someone. So you try to cut it down to it's a service to the community and gives you an opportunity to serve yourself.
Well, and service above self is the motto, is it not? The motto of the Rotary Foundation, by the way, is doing good in the world. So service above self and doing doing good in the world is a place to start. Is anybody else? What would you tell them?
I tell them that it's a vibrant organization which provides a network of 1.2 million people that want to do good for the world.
Okay. George.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble. What'd I do?
Yeah.
Oh, you want my answer?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with everyone else. I tell people that that we're a service club. It gives us a chance to learn about our communities and do projects to help the communities.
Okay. Anyone else?
I also mentioned the big picture of world peace and eradicating polio and the exchanges and some of those cool international things we can do, and that we can do local things.
Okay. By the way, Rotary spent a lot of money doing surveys, and they did a survey of people on the street. How many of you have heard about Rotary? And it was like 10%. And what is Rotary? And about 10% of the people knew what Rotary really was. But there's some things that came out of that. Has anyone heard of People of Action?
No.
I know Arturo has.
Yep.
And it starts out, we are people of action. And then it says, together we. And some of the words that are used is transform. we connect, we inspire, we end polio. Somebody mentioned that. We mentor. By the way, that's another reason that a lot of people join Rotary is for mentoring. We have fun. We certainly mentioned that. We learn, which is, I think, another name for listening. So as you think about this and why you joined Rotary and what you have gained from your Rotary Club, you might kind of meld all this stuff together and come up with a full word. And by the way, in my experience, what is Rotary? It's kind of like the blind man and the elephant. You remember that story? Describe the elephant, and it's big like a tree trunk. And somebody felt the trunk, and it's like a snake. And they felt the tusk, and it's hard, like bone. Everybody has a different view of what Rotary is because it's our Rotary. Okay. So now, what is our mission? What is Rotary? Well, we've already talked about part of it, so all right. Our mission is we do good in the world, we serve others, and that people of action. We transform, we connect, we inspire, we end polio, we mentor, we have fun, we listen and learn. Are those reasonable definitions? Okay. All right, so now the next one is we're going to talk about avenues of service, and I am going to share here a little bit. Okay, Jeff, you need to. If I can do this. Here we are. Okay, 5 avenues of service. And if it was going to be areas of focus for the Rotary Foundation, I'd say we're off by 2, but we're not. Okay, so what are the 5 avenues of service? Let's see if I can condense this thing. How do we serve?
Youth is one of them.
Youth? Okay. Youths.
Youths. Youths. What is youths?
Yeah, that's right. In this district, we have chosen not to update to the new terminology. We still call it new generations, but that's one certainly. Okay. All right. 20% of the way there. Who puts together your meeting? Who arranges for the thoughts of the day and the invocation if we have one, and arranges for the speakers, and next speaker and does all that stuff? What is that? What do we call that?
Vocational service?
Well, there is vocational. Okay.
Club administration.
Okay, it's called club, vocational club. This is my screen. All right, how many of you got district grants? Or, by the way, the checks are in the mail, literally, as of Thursday. How many of you got district grants? Well, I'm just guessing most of you did. Don got one. I know Arturo got one.
We got one.
We got one, yeah. Community service.
Community service, okay. And then if it isn't community, what is it?
International.
Patrick said it.
What's that?
Patrick said it.
International.
International. Okay. All right. So those are the areas, and let's see if this. There they are. And notice how that they put this thing together. We started out with a 5-slice pie, and we ended up this way. Why do you think that they put this representation together that way?
It takes all of them to make the whole.
Well, it does, and they all must work together. So, okay. So now, okay. Now we're going to get into some really interesting stuff here, because they want us to talk about how Rotary is structured. And Bruce talked about the organization. It's normally, it's kind of the flip of the way the military does it, or the government does it. So it starts out with me. I'm a member of a Rotary Club. So what is the next entity that you would deal with? If it didn't,
District?
The club.
Hey, a club. Okay, so why do we have clubs?
Tradition.
Well, Paul Harris did it, so it must be good enough, right? Well, clubs bring together what?
District.
Well, okay, but why do we have clubs?
Bring the members together to do more as a group than we could do individually.
Absolutely. Okay. And by the way, I'm just guessing there's more than one club in El Paso, right?
Correct. Right. Correct.
Okay. And why are there different clubs in El Paso?
Different areas where people can meet.
Okay, different areas, different times.
Different projects.
Focuses or projects.
Different personalities.
That's right, because a lot of you said you joined for networking, and which I will mean translate to mean fellowship as well. Okay, so each club has its own personality, and every governor here can tell you that they're all different. So there's districts, and then I've still got two little dashes on the.
And I'm sorry, Tom, just there's a new type of clubs that have been developed, you know, the passport clubs, specific projects, I don't know, just.
Like e-clubs and cause-based clubs.
Yep, there are satellite clubs that meet at a different time and place that than regular clubs, but are affiliated. There are e-clubs that people don't even see each other, but they have a like interest that get together to do things. Absolutely. So,
then the zones after district, no?
Zones, okay. Now this is where we start getting a little bit into the arcane portion of it. And here in a minute, we will talk about why we have districts and zones and what's after zones.
Rotary International.
Okay, there we go. So this is kind of the hierarchy. So most of us know clubs, know ours anyway. Some of us are familiar with districts, and we'll talk about districts. And then there's this zone thing. And most of us don't know, you know, we know people that serve in district, but most of us don't know anybody that serves in zones, although you really do, and you just don't know it. And Rotary International. So So this is our zone here, and hopefully you can see this. You see this little dashed line that runs through here? Runs around. This is the new Zone 26. And by the way, this district runs from West Texas to Hawaii. And each of those entities that we talked about, districts and zones, it's all about membership. A zone is a collection of about 35,000 Rotarians. There are 34 zones. Okay. So if you divide 1.2 million by 34, comes up more or less 35,000. Zones, there are 34 zones, but we only have 17 directors. So each zone is paired with somebody else. And we are paired with the rest of this that runs up into Canada, British Columbia, and so forth. The bottom part is Zone 26, and we're paired with Zone 27. By the way, we call it the Big West because, as you can see, it takes the United States, almost the entire western half together. So that's who we are, and I'll show you later where you can find this thing. So our organization looks kind of like this. 1.2 million Rotarians, and it's been that way, as Bruce and other people can tell you, since roughly 2000. Districts, there are roughly 535, give or take. They're always, every year, they'll add one or two and merge one or two. So 34 zones, and then Rotary International. So now the question is, why do we have a district? Let's go back and talk about districts. And Jeff, I'm going to quit sharing this right here. So why do we have a district? Is that a job for Sonny and Tom the Elder and soon to be Bob and me? Is it something to keep us busy for a couple years? It does, by the way, but is that why we do it? What is the purpose of the district, and how does it work?
It's to organize a series of clubs. You know, I think we have 68 clubs.
Yes, it's to organize clubs, and again, it's about membership. There's a certain minimum membership, and I think it's around 1,100. If you fall below that consistently, then you get merged with somebody else. Or if you get over like 5,500, and there are clubs or districts over 5,500, then they are split up. So it's about membership, and that's why our district looks the way it does. All of New Mexico and part of West Texas. It's about membership. Do districts do anything useful for you?
Please, somebody say something.
You know, Tom, yeah. I always look at the district and also, of course, Rotary International and the zone. Their purpose is to help each member enable servicing doing service above self. That's their whole function, is to help the individual clubs and members reach their goals.
Give that man a hand. Unlike the submarine squadron that I was in, and they always said, we're here to help. And a lot of the times they were, but most of the time they were seen as a irritating outside influence. The district is just here to help make possible what your club and your members want to do. Okay. So what did I tell you one of my functions here in the district is? I'm the guy that sends your district grant money to you.
Oh, yes.
Foundation.
Foundation guy. Okay. And again, our function is we don't advocate. We try to support clubs and members to do what you want to do, when and where you want to do it. So, by the way, all of you have your name. Some of you have your club name. Notice I logged in as 5520 because I am here. I could have logged in as Albuquerque. I could have logged in as Zone 26. But today I'm here as District 5520 representing the Foundation Committee. Okay. So the Foundation enables you to do projects. We could not have gotten the disaster response grant, assuming they ever send us the money, without the district. But who's going to do it? It's going to be clubs in Albuquerque that actually put together the grant that we sent forward. We're supporting what they want to do. Where else does the district help us?
Training.
Youth. Somebody. Youth.
PEG. Yep.
Training.
Okay.
RILA.
RILA. Youth exchange. Imagine trying to put together a RILA program for as many clubs as participate and as many campers as we have up there without some coordinating organization. And I think Governor Sonny was just attended a meeting of SCRI. SCRI is a organization that supports youth exchange. Imagine if you were going to set up a exchange with, say, Japan or France or someplace as a club. You would have to deal with people like the State Department, their equivalent in whatever country, all of the various regulations and so forth. So the district provides the organizational level to make that possible, because for a single club, that would be a tough one to handle. Okay. Anything else? Okay, so what does...
May I also add communication? Because it's the district, I think, that allows us to see ourselves as bigger than our one club and to be a part of a larger whole and to communicate with one another and to collaborate on different projects. I see that as part of the key role of the district.
So for instance, talking about the COVID-19 response,
yeah.
Basically, because we became aware of this, we were able to hook up various regions and clubs that might not have been aware of some of the needs out in the Navajo land. So anyway, so what we have a district governor, and I have to tell you, having been one, we are expensive. Actually, if you go down through RI's expense list, district governors are toward the top. So what do district governors do?
Nobody has any idea.
Okay. Well, I can say they visit the club.
Yeah.
They visit every club in the district, yes.
Okay. And we started out this thing with me, a Rotarian, a member of the Rotary Club of. Okay. I am a member of the Rotary Club of Albuquerque. Am I a member of Rotary International?
Yes.
Yes. No.
The club is a member. Okay. we are members of the club. But we do have one member of Rotary International in this district right now. And that is the governor is one of the officers of Rotary International in this district. Okay. So the governor is responsible for the overall administration of the district. And she also has a peculiar assignment working with me. It turns out that of all the committees that the district has, one of them is different from all the rest. Normally, the district governor appoints committee chairs and committees, but the foundation committee, I am not appointed by the governor. The governor recommends me to the Rotary Foundation Board of Trustees, and I am appointed by them. And the governor and I share the overall responsibility, foundation stuff. Yeah, hi. For the Rotary Foundation, we are responsible for the stewardship of the money, and so forth. So this is another thing she's responsible for. She's responsible for increasing membership, maintaining communication, getting the word out, the brand stuff, raising money for Rotary, and stewardship for all the funds. And there's a bunch of different funds. So the governor has a lot on her plate, and as a result of that, we have committees that work in several areas. Arturo is chairing public image. Obviously, I chair the foundation, and there are several others. And these committees pretty much mirror the committees you have in your clubs. So you probably have somebody on the international service or a foundation committee that will work with me. There's hopefully you have somebody that works with brand, you have somebody with membership and so forth. So that's what the district governor does in general. And to be honest, it's pretty near a full-time job. I think Governor Tom, didn't you take a leave of absence for 6 months while you were on the road? So it's quite a job. Now, we also have things called assistant governors and lieutenant governors. Anybody have any idea where they fit in here? So you've got clubs and you've got districts. So where is assistant governors and lieutenant governors?
Right in the middle.
In the middle, okay. Somebody's doing like that, I think. Okay, by the way, this district has lieutenant governors. It's not the only one, but they're not a lot. Rotary does not really officially recognize them, but assistant governors are there. What is their function? And this gets back to you, how the district and the clubs and the members all work together. Assistant governors, first of all, and I'm not going to ask you to hold up your hand, but you'll know in your own mind. Do you know who your assistant governor is?
I'd like to see hands. Just curious.
We'll show you how to find that out here in a minute. Okay. What do assistant governors do?
They support the governor, and they're the bridge of communication between the clubs and the governor.
Yep.
They have fewer clubs than the governor.
Yes.
And they
many
support
fewer.
their club. They support their clubs as much as supporting the governor, right?
Yes. Okay. They are. If you're a club president, and many of you are either presidents or about to be, they are an interface with the governor. They are experienced club presidents. They have been through training. They are there to assist you any way they can. And then because of our district is so large, we have divided it up into 5, what we call action teams or areas. The north and the north, the central and the central, east and east, the south and the south, and then southeast is the kind of the jutting jaw in West Texas, east of El Paso. And that allows the lieutenant governors to work with their assigned assistant governors to kind of help the governor with the management of these districts. Okay, so we talked about districts. Okay, how do you contact a district? We will discuss that in a minute. Rotaries, zones. We talked about zones are collections of districts that have about 35,000 members in them. Every 8 to 10 years, we rezone. We just went through one of those. So we're now part of the West Coast again. And so what does a zone do? Okay, rather than drag this one out. Zones are primarily responsible for training. That's where Governor Tom and Governor Sonny and Governor Bob went to get trained governors. It's like governor school. We call it the Zone Institute. But also there is a mirror image of key components of the district organization. There is a membership organization, and they are called Rotary coordinators. And these people are appointed by the RI Board of Directors. There's the foundation, and these are called regional Rotary foundation coordinators. And they're approved by the trustees, and I'm one of those. And then there's the RPECs, Rotary Public Image Coordinators, and they are also appointed by the board, and they support Arturo and his counterparts in the districts. So we are there to help the governor and her committees any way we can. So training is one thing we do. We also select every 4 years a director. Remember, I said there are 34 zones that are paired together, so there are 17 pairs. And every 2 years, and it alternates, so they don't completely swap out the board all at once. They select a director. And we just selected the next one after Governor Jarita. And Vicki will take office, I think, next July. So they comprise the board. Okay. And let's see, Rotary International, why don't we just keep our dues and kiss off Rotary International? Wouldn't that make sense? What are we charging? About $70 a year now? And then there's the council tax, and then there's the insurance and this and that and the other things. By the way, your invoices just hit the street on Friday. So if you're wondering what it is. Why do we have Rotary International?
It's the same thing. We try to do good in our community, and you just go up the scale, and they allow us to do good things worldwide.
Okay. Eric?
Yes, sir.
Why not save the money?
Because you're not going to have the full force of Rotary International behind you. You need that recognition, you need that sense of belonging, and that global participation for Rotary to really work the way it does. We're better as a group instead of on our own.
Yes, we're better than the sum of our parts, some of our Rotary clubs. We can think about what it would take to do a global grant in Guatemala if we didn't have the overall structure to hook up Guatemala and United States and Texas and all those other places. Okay. By the way, to emphasize what Eric said, at the last Council on Legislation, the General Secretary his position was changed to be CEO of Rotary International. And the reason for that was he deals with all kind of really big wig organizations, and General Secretary didn't sound as good to them as CEO does. And so he's out making deals with that. Okay, let's see.
Governor Tom?
Yep.
I'm going to just gently remind you, about 2 more minutes, sir.
All right, so.
Thank you.
One of the questions that we need to answer is, how do I get help? And let me share this. If it will let me. Oops. Share. Where can I get help? Well, for almost anything, District Secretary Donat is the person you want to contact. But remember, we talked about assistant and lieutenant governors. It's their job to help you, to be there, to answer questions. We've got district committee chairs, and I said that I would show you how to figure out this stuff. Okay, see up here, it says organization. I'm going to click on that, and then you go to district organization chart.
We're not seeing it, Tom.
No. Well, it says I'm sharing.
We're seeing the PowerPoint.
Yes. Oh, they're not seeing that. No. Okay. All right. Well, let's not do that anymore.
What you could do is share instead your whole screen, and that way we'd see whatever you're looking at.
Share. Let's try that. Okay, share. All right. So let's do this. So,
yep.
Okay, is that wording better?
Yes.
Okay, we got organization and district org chart over here. Okay, and let's see here. If you didn't know how, there's Donat. Here I am, Renee. The lieutenant governors and governors are down here, and so you have to know which central, which action team you're in, and then the clubs will tell you which AG is for which club over here. So that is one thing. And let me go back and the District 5520 website is another one. Let's look here. Zone 26. Nobody talks about this very much, but it has tons of resources. And for instance, I'm just going to look at the foundation one. And I clicked on that, and notice the very first one over here on the right-hand side is Foundation Resource Guide. This is 17 pages of everything you want to know about the Rotary Foundation. It's maintained by the headquarters, so it's pretty well up to speed. So I'm going to stop there. Do we have any questions at this point? Because I think it's about over. Okay. So, I am a member of a Rotary Club that is an international organization. To enable me to do service projects and all sorts of things, we have a club, we have a district supporting that club, we have a zone supporting that district in that club, and we have Rotary International. And that's kind of how it all fits together. Thank you.
Thank you,
All
Tom.
right. Okay, thanks so much, Governor Tom. We appreciate that. It's a lot of information, and there's no way to try to get a full grasp of Rotary International then in 45 minutes. So thank you very much, sir. Appreciate that. Hey, guys, we've got time for a break. This is on the agenda, and well, we had 20 minutes scheduled, but I'd like to try to get us on track again a little bit then. So how about if we get back together about 9:55? That gives us about 15 minutes anyway. And so please get up, stretch your legs, get some more coffee, do headstands, whatever you need to do.